And this time we're joined by Teja, who is the voice of Abi Mountain and I think Perr, right?
And Perr, yeah.
I genuinely can't remember the characters that I played because we recorded most of the lines. As I'm sure other people who have joined in as guests have said, you know, it's what, 12, 13 years ago that I recorded most of these lines. So I'm quite excited to hear them back and be like, oh my God, what did you make me say?
You did some nice sort of taunting filler lines from Abi Mountain. He's the one who says, I'm going to give you a cannonball vasectomy, which I think you might have come up with. But he doesn't say that on this level.
Oh, did I actually come up with that myself?
I can't remember. You came up with a few of them. That sort of comes up later in the game anyway. We'll get you back for that level. But
I was hoping if I said anything that I would not like to have said now, that I could just blame it on Dan. But that's not the case.
I mean, it was in amongst a load of other similar lines, so you're probably riffing off what we gave you. So,
I'll take.
There'll be some you can blame on me. To be honest, I think. Maybe the C-bomb. You dropped the C-bomb once. But not in this level, so you're all good.
Okay. I'm glad I've got my headset on.
Okay, so anyway, so let's read the description. So this is the area designated by the 1st Regiment to regroup at times such as this. This is one of their southmost bases. There is nothing but barren, radioactive horde desert below. These are likely the remaining 1st Regiment Southern Base survivors. There may be a few elsewhere, but not enough to present any issue. Finish them off. So we've got to kill all the remaining 1st Regiment. Right, let's go.
Make quick, light work. So this is your favourite Tarmac cutscene.
This is my favourite cut. It's just, like you say, so the killing machine cutscenes with that white text.
Fucking surface piercing.
It's supposed to sort of show their character, and I think this one does that job.
So, somebody.
And their arms are very similar.
Well, it's. Yeah, I think he had fun doing those arms.
Fuck you. You. Oh, definitely.
Them being a killing example of how they're a killing machine. Basically, whenever you see their name pop up at the start. I came up with this idea. I remember where I was thinking the idea for this. I was in Japan on a fucking mountainside train going somewhere about midway through my journey through there. So it was even back then that like we were thinking of stories. So this was a core fucking story point of movement.
So as well, like back in the day, Tarmet, who is voiced by Mia,
to the polls.
Just nuking everything, nuking the sea, nuking.
Yes, cunt. Dead.
And most importantly, for his pseudonym, the water bearer, nuking the ice caps to just fucking get the water 70 meters higher.
I'm finding the voice really interesting because do you remember, Dan, when we did Triceratops? Like, it just did not put on a different voice and it was hilarious. So it's kind of interesting. Like, I just assumed that she didn't really enjoy, not enjoy acting, but didn't really lean into it too much. So it was really interesting actually hearing the acting there.
You should hear some later Tarmet scenes. Really possesses something for the voice, and consistently so. In fact, that killing machine cutscene you just saw, I think Mia didn't enjoy their performance so much doing that. Towards the end as well, because Rachel was in the kitchen. And there's a lot of swearing, and I don't think she wanted to say "drown cunt" so loudly or whatever. But still, though, overall it gets the point done. Here you are saying "owned" whenever the character dies. I think you had to do some extra programming to make that happen as well, didn't you, Greg?
Yeah, it's So your character's kind of a bit antagonistic, and you sort of hate each other basically, and he just, even though you're kind of allied at this point, so he's just taunting him every time you move through, every time you die, he's just taking the piss out of you.
Nice.
It's quite a tricky level, this one. There's mines embedded in the floor again. Oh, I'm literally right next to one. So you got to put your vision modes to see where those are.
I think my favorite line you do on this one, Teja, is when you step on the 6th landmine. And I mean, hopefully that'll happen. But you don't have many potions. We deliberately made it like stingy with potions, this one. So you have to really conserve your health and mana.
Although you can obviously just change the equipment if you need to.
Yeah, if you're having trouble. How far did you get again, Teja? You did some tutorials, I remember.
I did. I got basically past the opening cutscene, and then I was finding it too hard. And it was at a point where, you know, my baby was a proper baby at that point still, and it was quite tricky to get video game time in. So I keep meaning to come back to it, but then forgetting.
I take your earphones away from your head at this point, by the way, soon, because it's going to be really loud. But yeah, sorry.
Oh, we've got Euclid's Elements. This is an ancient book with, you know, about geometry and stuff. 1,000 pages.
Is it actually 1,000 pages?
Well, it's 1,000 in-game pages. The real pages of the book are not in the same place as where this version is.
Is this a book that you like copied across into the game?
Yeah. There's quite a few of these. So it's got a forward talking about...
I didn't write this one.
Yeah. Anyway.
So yeah, that's supposed to be when, apparently you'd say this, Greg, when you would troll play CS and have music playing and be like, huh? Is my microphone on, huh? Or something, like when you were a lot younger.
Yeah, oh, well, not even that much younger. We used to, go in Counter-Strike, and you can get the software that lets you play whatever you want through the microphone. So we used to play our old songs. So that is actually an old Sigbit song, classic, one of the jump style. I probably used to play that to CS and piss everyone off. And so Abi Mountain's doing that to you while you're trying to kill stuff.
That seems appropriate.
Yeah. So down
it wasn't
here,
jump style pretty much.
Yeah.
Sorry, Greg. I was just going to say, wasn't jump style like after I left Sigbit? Wasn't it like the first thing that you guys did was jump style?
Did you ever really leave Sigbit, Teja? we wouldn't let you. But we made a full album of that stuff.
Don't die.
So I'll just show this. There's a load of foxes in here. Is that?
What a shit.
So the I can't remember what's in there, Dan. Is it a coin thing again for the?
There's a spade in there, but it's a trial to get through there, so I wouldn't do that on this casual play.
Yeah. Okay. So we're just trying to take it relatively slow.
Nicely well hidden spade.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you where the dirt is.
Out of curiosity then, so obviously like a couple of years ago I did some other lines for this. Are those in this level, or are those like, are they dotted like through, or?
There were some that you did last year that are not in this level. Like just as we were finishing up the game, I think we asked you to do a few more. So basically, there's one or two times in the game where you fight Abi Mountain if you go that way, and as you're fighting him, he's just like constantly taunting you, So those are the lines we did recently. I think all the actual lines, all these info links and when he's in cutscenes and stuff he did before that, I think.
That makes sense.
Yeah, these ones are like I mean, you're among the first 10 people to very, very generously give your voice, and I think these and some other scenes are all. I think I came at you with like 4 scenes, and I'm counting this level as one scene, just sporadic info links, but I think did them all in one sesh.
If you die,
Yeah, that makes
what a
sense.
shit.
And then, yeah, was it last year or the year before when I did? It would have been the year before, I think, because I remember sitting in my garage at night, just swearing and hoping my neighbour couldn't hear me.
Yeah.
And she was about 80, and I remember being like, the next day, I remember seeing her on the driveway and just apologising to her, and she was just like, "I didn't hear you, but yeah."
And then you walk away, and she's like, "What a shit." But yeah, I think those ones you've improvised a lot. The ones you did in the garage.
I think so. So. Yeah. Well, it's weird. I mean, it's tame. To be honest, so far it's been tamer than I remember it being. Or, I mean, my memory wasn't great of it, but I remember I was like, doing a lot of just swearing aggressively into a microphone. So I was kind of like, it's not as bad as I thought it would be in terms of how I would be like view those things now. Like, it seems relatively okay.
No, yeah, I don't think he says much that's like insensitive. He just says fucking shit all the time, and maybe once cunt, and but the thing is, I think maybe in conjunction with this character being like a complete bastard who relishes, has no humanity, like hates humanity, just sees it as something to fucking exploit, and so maybe it's easy to kind of combine those things, and I think everything he says that isn't swearing is like, let's go out there and fucking take everything, and so I mean, he himself is just a horrible person, I guess, rather than the things he says necessarily.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, a little detail you bothered to add, Greg, is if you shoot the nail gun into the wood, it stays there. It doesn't actually damage the wood.
Yeah, so like guns
because you have to be realistic, right?
Yeah. I don't know how realistic that is really. But...
Yeah. Good level. I don't know. What's your impressions of this level?
I find this one really frustrating. But...
Really?
It's the mines. The mines are so annoying. But yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think it looks fun. I think with movement always, there's too much like visual information going on the screen for me. I enjoy watching you guys play it, but if I was playing it myself, I'd just be completely confused, I think.
You got it.
Yeah, it does look good.
You got to play at a 1024 768 resolution. Make the screen shorter and less stuff on there.
Don't you die,
it's the OG resolution. But yeah, this one it's supposed to be a bit of a challenge because you got good weapons though. Nail gun's a pretty good gun.
Yeah, nail gun's good.
You don't have to reload.
War beasts are pretty good.
Yeah, they're all pretty good tier weapons. The challenge presented to you by the enemies is in like quite segmented. You can approach slowly at a time, though the rocket barrage is it's an intimidating one, but it's also a fun one. You gotta like weave and dodge.
The most annoying thing about
this is the hardest part, probably.
Yeah, The most annoying thing about this Abi Mountain playing Sigvit over the speakers is even if you skip the info link, it still keeps playing that that sound.
Yeah.
So I can't skip it really. Also, we just have to put up with it again.
How are you gonna deal with these guys?
I'll do the wind force. You can attach a grenade to the wind force arrows, which is actually pretty useful here. Although,
Yeah, you're using attached grenades to arrow, right?
yeah,
Brilliant.
didn't really work there, but did you only get like one of these grenades?
Yeah, you don't get many. It's really stingy level. Kind of get to the challenge of it. Got to be resourceful.
Try just check it.
Oh, so things are supposed to be scary. The mood's supposed to be kind of creepy.
I used all my grenades, so
But
I'm just
like,
gonna have to fight him. No slow time either, so we're just gonna have to go.
No.
Oh no! Yeah, that's why it's a bit hard. Those turrets can sometimes mess you up. Right, maybe
Those turrets are not
he's got to be
easy
low.
enemies.
Yeah, 6 HP, so we should be able to get him now.
Get it. You got any more wind force? Nice. What else was I gonna say? Yeah, Marcus really didn't like that APC at the bottom. He was like, "What a shit enemy! It's from a console game or something."
Oh, was it?
No,
What?
well, it isn't. But he said it's like
like
seems
that.
like it would be.
It's an interesting one. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't shoot you or anything. It just literally drives and tries to ram you. It's kind of more interesting when the other enemies around are still alive, and then you get over here and it just stops and doesn't do anything. You can just chainsaw it from the top.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take
Yeah,
this last
exactly.
bit
I like how you can
carefully.
get on top of it and chainsaw it.
This enemy seemed bugged last time, so we'll see. Maybe it's still bugged. Yeah. Just probably a bit too close to the wall, so he's,
So
can't see him properly.
yeah, it's harder to fight in the tunnels because if the rocket men hit you, they're gonna knock you into the ceiling, and that's gonna do additional damage. Same with the mines.
So those spikes aren't just there to look, you know, for atmosphere. They do actually like hurt.
No,
you
they
more.
are from atmosphere actually, but
No, that actually is there for atmosphere.
it's basically because I guess the explosions make you fly up, so when there's other stuff around, you kind of escape that automatically. But if you're in a confined space, then you're just stuck there. Right, I'm gonna drink my last potion. What can we do? How can we kill him?
Fuck, that's your last potion?
Well,
I don't think we're gonna do this.
We'll have to try. Well, it was actually probably nail guns best here. If I have to reload.
Nail
for
guns
that.
are just fuck.
You know what I
Well,
can do?
how
I can
much
just
ammo do you have for
I'll
that?
lame this guy up first. Yeah, there we go. Now we need to take this
Nice.
guy. Okay, let's just go for it. We're gonna have to be brave. Not a good start.
What?
Yes.
Oh, you're fucking
Nice.
boring, mate. Later.
Nice.
Yeah, take that, Abi Mountain. Ooh.
Alright, nice.
There you go.
Right, should we do the cutscene? I assume there's a cutscene.
Yeah.
Okay, this
Appealing to the QAnon crowd here.
Tom, it's shall I send them in?
Dan H. So this is the first time you see modern day Tarmet.
Yeah.
Fucked up. Thought you could Trojan horse me.
Is this me?
Man, it's been gone over and scanned like 4 times. There's no bomb or shit, we...
I'm at the fucking organs! I don't care to hear how it happened or whether it was intentional or planned. Don't care to tell you the details of who was infected, of whose fucking bodies were compromised. Do care to tell you that when it comes to organ harvesting, we will be self-sufficient and terminate our trade.
So yeah, Tom's pretty evil. This is the head of Mass City and stuff. You know, cliche conspiratorial, you know,
However many of them you can bring in.
complete
I
power.
of
power corrupts absolutely guy. Yeah. Like,
was he inspired by anyone in particular, Dan?
Did you want me now to help you with something? Talk to your bosses.
Not that I can think of, just like that classic imagery, I guess, of like,
I hope you've been and taken notice about things.
you know, the stuff that only like kind of,
Continuing much longer.
I don't know, does he resonate with anyone for you?
Your country and bosses.
I've not seen enough of him so far, so hard to say.
Because they're the ones who are going to receive.
Yeah. I guess just so basically I was going to bring this up in another cutscene, which is Tarmet, Onan, and Gun. They're like the heads of the three conglomerates, and they kind of represent like Tarmet is like, you know, by the way, I get very lazy with the animation of the scene afterwards because Becca does a great job as best as she could delivering these terrible fucking lines with fucking passion and stuff, but they're terrible lines. So I had to make, the plan was to make the animation more dynamic, lots of frequent cuts to kind of get across the energy of it, but didn't get around to it, so I fucked up. But anyway, Tom, it's supposed to be like humanity at its basest. He's made the world as much as he can. What's left to pursue on the individual level and on the humanity level, in far as his interpretation is, and it's just base hedonism without consideration, and also the kind of despondency of that. He's not happy about it. I mean, I'll articulate it better on another level, but like, yeah, he's just supposed to be gross. And Onan is the same, except like fucking happy about it and indulgent. And Gun is not indulgent and also despondent about it. So like, we'll talk. That's easy to see later. Yeah.
That makes sense. And sort of seeing that cutscene play through, actually, what it does remind me of it towards the end of it, and through some of the animation is sort of, you know, this like Fury Road style Mad Max, some of like the really like disgusting character designs, that sort of really like physical and just like gross, and like when you sort of focus on his face, it reminds me a lot of that kind of style, and I guess the hedonism and things sort of like really link into that as well.
100%. Just another of the many media productions that passed us by during the long production of this, where it's like, crap. They've done it, but I mean, it's all kind of like you're all picking up ideas off the airwaves anyway without you realizing it. So I mean, it's, you know, there's no originality. It's all coming from something that you didn't realize you were even picking up on. And I don't think we were striving so much to be original for originality's sake. Just doing whatever was what felt right, I guess, at the time, or felt in line with whatever the target was at the time. So, for example, sometimes like ugliness, like I really wanted like ugly ideas. We could talk about that another time as well. But yeah.
Well, I kind of feel that, and correct me if I'm wrong about this now, but I always feel like with your writing, you really, and not just writing, but like sort of the media that you really engage with. Like, I always feel like you really like love good archetypes that are then explored in detail, you know, so not necessarily about original ideas, but like the foundational point of it being, you know, exploring like, you know, here's a film noir detective kind of thing, like, you know, thinking of things like Cowboy Bebop and stuff that you've always, you know, that we've talked about for years. That sort of like, you get an archetype, like a character archetype or a story archetype, and then like you do something wild with it, as a, you know, rather than just sort of try and create something original for original sake, if that makes sense.
I see. It's interesting, actually, you say that. I was thinking the other day about how the humor in this is the escalation to the absurd degree. So you'd get a joke, and it's like, I can't think of a fucking joke right now, but like, you know, let's get a joke situation, and it's the standard default version of the joke, and it's tame, and it's like, okay, and then the follow-up joke will happen with two people, ha ha ha, and it's like, if you kept doing iterations of the joke, escalating it every time, eventually we'd get to the too much absurd level of 1 million people. So with movement, it's very appropriate to skip straight to 1 million people. So, you know, the jokes are like, hence why like Carnage Man's gun, for example, is like, you know, 20 orcs glued together or something. You know, it would be ridiculous enough to dual wield orcs, but like okay, skip straight to 1 million on everything. So that's not necessarily exactly what you were saying, but like, you know, that's how it could manifest. Cheers for yeah, I don't know, man. Interesting. Yeah, there's something to that for sure. To like, yeah, put something. I'm not whacking off over my own method here, but saying for anybody, I think there's something to be said about accepting. You know, you can make some new archetypes, and you should, and I do try doing that in other things, but also, yeah, there's something about accepting that it's hard to come up with a new one, getting an established archetype, and putting something new onto that. Yeah, that's a good one for sure. Fucking hell, I didn't want to rant so much about shit like that, but fucking look what he's done to me.
Dan, I mean, I don't know what else to contribute really, aside from like finding jumping off.
No, cheers.
Ramble about stuff.
No, I'm joking. No, of course, that's what this is here for, I guess. Fair play. What I mean by that is I'm embarrassed to be so fucking indulgent there. Yeah. But cheers for giving me the opportunity to be so secretly.
So we've unlocked our first Act 2 level, by the way, which you can see by this flashing Eastern Kingdom thing at the top here. So if you click this, we now have Mountain up here. So after Mountain Retreat, we get Mountain on a completely different continent. Basically, we had Act 2, and you know, normally you'd have Act 1 followed by Act 2, but we just basically had a load of levels that didn't really fit in Act 1, as well as some ones that were intended for Act 2. So we put them in this Eastern Kingdom area. And rather than have you beat Act 1, which is like really long and hard before you play some of these kind of interesting levels over here, we kind of let you unlock them, and then sort of, as we did with a bunch of things, put in a story reason later as to why this is happening.
So is it sort of like a thematic bridge between the first and the second act then, Greg? So like, you know, it's not just like a straight Act 1 finishes, Act 2 starts, but you've got this like transitionary period with some of these levels. Yeah,
so I guess like in terms of the storyline and the timing of when stuff happens, this Act 2 is supposed to happen after the whole of Act 1, but you just get to play them now, and it's almost like you're jumping back and forward a little bit in the time when you're going over to Act 2. And I guess like you said, there's some thematic link between Mountain Retreat and this mountain level.
Is it because they both have the word mountain?
It is.
I knew I was smart, man.
Yeah. But that's why that specific one. To be honest, the other links are more tenuous than that even. But I don't know. It's just like I said, there's some nice levels in Act 2 that I wanted people to see sooner than having to beat some of the ridiculously hard bosses at the end of Act 1. Yeah.
It's just completely unrelated aside. Just looking at the map, how did you guys do that? Because
the map,
it's actually just looking at it. It's like it's bright and colourful, and that sort of draws your attention at first. But then I'm like, actually, looking at it, you've got like rivers and bodies of water, mountains, and
So Dan drew the outline of the map with the different areas, right? That was the first step, and it's like a giant, like probably 4K plus like MS Paint picture of all these little areas. And the same for Act 1. I mean, Act 1's actually probably even more complicated, like all this stuff. So that was all Dan drawing that, and then like I guess you get like satellite imagery of. So this is like cities and stuff, because mass cities I guess like both the continent and this huge sprawling urban area. So get pictures of this is like all in Photoshop, kind of get the or GIMP or something, I can't remember, but yeah, you get the all this like satellite imagery, stick it over the top. Then I kind of cut out the different areas, made them highlight when you mouse over, gave them each a sort of unique color. So and then put the names on them as well, so you see their names. Then but then in Eastern Kingdom, so these are like more like mountainous regions and stuff. So there's like satellite imagery of mountains rather than cities.
So those will be real mountains somewhere.
But I think it's probably somewhere in Asia, like probably the Himalayas or something.
It's just one of those things. It's like
but just like not actually mapped onto a real place here. It's sort of just like a mishmash of it, like pasted over the top of each other and blurred together. It's not actually like probably a continuous bit of the Himalayas.
I mean, so it's not explicitly said, and I don't know to what extent it was intended to be, but I mean, there's a character who something happened at that cutscene where Tarmit launches all those nukes. Something metaphysical happened. No, not really metaphysical, but astrophysical, and the world was pulled through space-time. Well, lots of stuff were pulled through space-time. Something happened where things were rearranged, and in the momentum of that, the plate tectonics were also kind of dragged along so if you go on Mass City map, that area where most of the game is taking place right now, that's supposed to be where the San Andreas Fault kind of like just tears apart. That's why it kind of like, so that's kind of California, and it's kind of broken to pieces. And like if you go far east, you've got a base in green in the sea called Florida. That's where Florida would have been. I mean, the scale's all off and everything. But yeah, Eastern Kingdom, I think the appeal for Eastern Kingdom was to just be a big, giant, contiguous mass of land. And all the mountains have kind of like scrunched up there. So there's only, you say there's rivers there, there's only really one river there, which is completely unrepresentative of, mainland China, for example. But it's supposed to be, kind of like a condensation of mainland East Asia, including Mongolia and Russia and stuff. In fact, the top is called Putingrad, which is a very dumb bastardization of Putin and whatever the fuck grad means. I can't remember. Yeah, that's where Red Hand's from, and Danielle. Right. Anyway, that's the lore on that.
I mean, it's interesting. Because I think it's like obviously.
Sorry, were you going to say?
Probably did. Yeah, well, when you probably did this, like I don't know, like this map. I mean, I've seen it for years. I guess, like seeing you guys play it, and it's just one of those things. Like nowadays, like with like a lot of like D&D and map making tools for like tabletop role playing games, like. There's some really good tools to do it, but even doing it in those where like there are specific tools designed for making maps, this would have taken quite a long time to do, and you just wouldn't have had any of that like back when you did it. It's incredible, like one of those little things. It's just incredibly impressive.
Oh, that's so nice. Well, luckily this was fun as well, so it wasn't one of those burdensome things.
I mean, doing all these borders must have taken ages, then, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Doing all these little borders and stuff must have taken forever.
Well, that was fun. Like some of that was like, of course, on the fly, like the little details, and it was kind of like you're getting into the character of the territorial greed of some of these factions. And you're like, even these like 5 pixels drawing this line 5 pixels this way, you're being like, yeah, they stole this fucking alley from them. They're trying to encroach on their territory via this, path here. There's one bit on Mass City which is fun where it's near the Peachy Republic, and Corset are using the Peachy Republic as a buffer to kind of that area. There's an area between the Peachy Republic and Corset in red, and there's they're making little enclaves, and the point is, and Lake Ulteria to the west, Lake Ulteria, below on the bottom border is a faction called I think Atlas Foundation, and then they want to maintain a certain hegemony there, or whatever the fuck you say, and Corset want greater influence, and they have influence over another faction called Money, which is on the north border, and they are, so to compromise the purity of Lake Ulteria, they have Money kind of dig inland, and you can see they're starting to dig inland to make a canal into the great seas above to contaminate the lake, to pressure the Atlas Foundation to capitulate to Corset, policies and stuff. And they stopped digging the canal there, so I guess they capitulated. But it's you get into little imagination things like that in your head while you're making the map.
The one I like as well is
It
this little area
fun.
where all of the triads have their little island where they all sort of discuss things. I guess they all have a little piece of land here. All the different
Right, yeah, they've got partitions. They've arranged politically fucking partitions of storage space, I suppose. This is definitely the kind of trading area for mercantile capitalism or something. Yeah, it is fun.
I'm just going to have to load up the game, I think, later on, and just the level of detail and what you can remember of that is just you're talking about a few pixels along, and you've got this really intricate detailed story for a little line coming into a lake. It's amazing. You would have done this at least a decade ago, and you can remember the 5 pixels that represent the building of a canal, and there's just so much of it. Every one of those lines probably has a story that
what's going on here, Dan? What the hell?
Yeah, that's amazing. It's incredible.
So that's lovely to say. That's fucking lovely to say. I do have a story there, I guess. The Eastern Kingdom have kind of sold out their military protection duties to the private company, which is the 1st Regiment, essentially. They're private military. So they're tasking them to encroach on the Vargo Rebellion and also to destroy the Horde. So the 1st Regiment are placed in various installations that are useful for them, I think. But the Eastern Kingdom don't want to give them too much power. So there's a kind of balance of power going on where the Eastern Kingdom need to utilize the 1st Regiment, but they don't want to give them too much or too much advantage. So yeah, they definitely don't want the Eastern Kingdom. They don't want the 1st Regiment to border the Vargos themselves. They want to make sure that the Eastern Kingdom retain the Vargo territory afterwards. They don't want to hand it from the Vargos to the 1st Regiment, kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, again, whatever. It's fun shit, though. Say this map wasn't 10 years ago, though. This one was probably 5 or something, or probably 6 by now, or something like that. But yeah, it's funny. Have you noticed the faction names that Greg named?
The triads. Can you read this?
Oh, okay. Are they all Starship? Yeah.
They're all Star Trek series. So you got Star Trek Enterprise, Star Trek Voyager, Star Trek Hidden Frontier was a fan series, which we found funny. At least the first season was quite funny with the poor production values, but we enjoyed it.
Well, great.
That's where Dr. Henglar comes from.
Yeah, I noticed one in there that I didn't recognise the name, or maybe you can explain. I noticed Star Trek Paradigms.
Oh, yeah.
Or Triad Paradigms. What's that, Greg? What's that?
So that is a That is a Star Trek comic that Marcus and I made when we were teenagers. I don't actually know if it's up on the internet anymore. It might have come down.
Yeah,
It's not.
I'll put it back one day.
what?
I have it all. Yeah, it's very crude, but basically we made that. So there's a Star Trek fan fiction wiki. So you got Memory Alpha, which is the Star Trek wiki, which has like some encyclopedic details on all the real Star Trek series. You've got Memory Beta, which is like all of the books and like some slightly more non-canon stuff. And then there's I think it's called Star Trek Expanded Universe, which is a wiki for Star Trek fan fiction. And we kind of made Star Trek Paradigms explicitly to troll the Star Trek fanfiction wiki. So, you know, they've got a list of enterprises like A, B, C, D, E, all the way down to like AA and like ZA and like all this stuff. Well, ours is JFAZW. So, you know, it's and then we kind of started including characters from other fan fictions in our one and then editing their pages in order to, but we got a reference for it because it's on Star Trek Paradigms, and the moderators didn't like that, so they kept telling us we should make our own page for our version of these other people's characters. But we kind of went back and forth a few times like that. We put Harry Potter in ours because obviously someone's made a Star Trek Harry Potter crossover, and our version's very crude, so we started putting some of our crude stuff on someone else's Harry Potter page on the Star Trek. Anyway, so yeah, there's some trolling in our past.
I didn't realize that was the incentivization for a lot of it.
That was one of the reasons. I mean, we wanted to make a stupid Star Trek comic. And a lot of it was out of the Something Awful Star Trek forum that Marcus really liked, and actually eventually the people on Something Awful in that forum found Star Trek Paradigms and obviously really liked it. The main character's called Hyperriker, and someone changed their avatar and their name on Something Awful to Hyperriker. Had nothing to do with us, so we kind of appreciated that. And then eventually Marcus fessed up and said, yeah, this I am a good. We made Star Trek Paradigm. So yeah, anyways, obviously that is one of the factions of these triads. The other one is Triad Grower Decks. So actually, this is before all the new Star Trek came out, and actually there is a Star Trek series called Lower Decks, and before that there was an episode of Next Generation called Lower Decks where it follows around some of the less promoted people or whatever. Marcus always had this idea to do one called Grower Decks, where it's the people on the Enterprise that grow all the weed. So in their quarters or whatever, they're growing loads of weed and like dealing it, I guess, or whatever. So that was going to be another series. So we put Triad Grower Decks is one of these. It's not really a reference to the Lower Decks series. And then you got Enterprise, In Frontier again, Next Generation. Is that all of them? Maybe. Anyway,
I was when I saw that, I'm like, those are filler, right? And you're like, nah, not really. I'm like, all right, fair play.
What hidden? Oh, the names of the triads. I mean, because you didn't have names for all of the areas, and I was tasked with putting names on them, so I kind of put them as like.
And to be fair, I only had kind of rough names in mind for some of the triad factions, and I wasn't really tied to them necessarily. I think they were just going to be very vacuously fucking Googled faction names during the fucking 20th century Civil War, or else fucking references to Three Kingdoms period. So it's like, could still even put those in.
I mean, there's Triad Deep Space Nine up here. It doesn't make too much sense.
There's Triad what?
Triad Deep Space Nine. I mean,
okay.
If it wasn't obvious enough already.
Well, my favorite's Triad, the original series.
Yes. I can't even find them right now. I found them.
It's at the top. Strangely enough, it's one of the smallest factions.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah. And there's New Yokohama,
they
which
referenced
is where
Yokohama.
Kato wants to go.
Yeah.
It's kind of his destination. Yeah.
Oh,
We
yeah.
could talk for ages. I mean, I'm glad you brought up something awful, because as I'm going through this with you, it's kind of like, and how I reference, like, there's some stuff I wanted that I wouldn't particularly like, but I wanted to make sure that that was in, and I wanted to do stuff that I didn't like for this game. But that's not fully defining what that is. And another way to define that is the ugliness. Like, I said it to Marcus to his face. I was like, some of your ideas, like, sorry to say this, but one of the best ways to put it is, like, some of them are very ugly. They're so, like, they're quite, like, among brilliant ideas, among, like, outrageous ideas, which I also wanted there. But, like, some of them are like intentionally, like, I'll come up with some examples later, but, like, there's some that are, like, you could call, like, repellent to an audience, to the extent that they would be absolutely original, because no one would go for those, and, like, no one would endure cultivating those ideas. So it's like, that's so original, and, like, and it makes you feel something, even if it may be like, ew, like, you know, and you had to put it in for that. And then a lot of that is akin to, and there's some synchronicity going on, because, like SA has been coming up in my fucking and that was it as well. Like, I wasn't involved in that as much as you guys were, but there was a nice little window to that, and that humor that can be pretty strong but fresh, but, like, for sure funny as fuck. That I wanted to kind of, like, put some of that in this as well, and I had to maintain. Well, you guys brought that, if anything. So
I mean, yeah,
I
like,
definitely wanted to shine on my favorite parts of that.
Again, like, even like
encountered.
all the Dan Quinn references and stuff, and, you know, we touched on that in the previous episodes, but that's, like, that similar. It's a bit, like, edgy in that, like, there's a level in which is quite mean to the guy, right? Like, it's but I don't know. So that was obviously out of Something Awful as well, right? But it's
was it? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's Something Awful. Love Dan Quinn. That's where that came from. But it's you know, there's an affection there for him as well, right? Like, it's not, like, completely being mean to him, because it is indulging him in a way that he would appreciate as well, right? Like, but I don't know. At the same time,
Well, I remember.
I don't know. I gotta say, personally, yeah.
Well, I just remember after,
Go on, sorry.
like, shortly after you found out about Dan Quinn, Greg, you just ordering, like, loads of stevia and getting, was it Chateau Picard, and, like, mixing the two together? Am I remembering that?
No,
I think
yeah, you're
there
completely
might
right.
be two separate memories.
No, that
But,
happened.
like, I remember
yeah.
that being, like, as an homage to, like, all the things that you were enjoying about, like, what he was doing and stuff.
So that bottle of
Spending money
Chateau
on
Picard
stevia,
is in
yeah.
the first level, actually. We showed that off at one point. So yeah, we did mix that with stevia as both a Star Trek and a Dan Quinn reference. Yeah. But yeah, it's
Yeah, I mean, I always felt a bit, like, bad about it, but, you know, so I was never, like, I never got it myself, all the Dan Quinn stuff, and that always made me feel a bit conflicted. But I never actually had to face that properly, because his character didn't fully come forth in the story up to the point where we got up to. Who knows
the
in the
version,
future, right?
You know, but in this game, right? Dan
in my
Quinn
case,
is,
I also felt a bit like glass houses. But yeah, sorry.
But, you know, in the game, Dan Quinn is, like, 100% proven right. Like, Stevie is the fountain of youth. You know, he's like, his canon is all real. Like, the people really are trying to get him and stuff. And, you know, the Sir James is a character who's, like, truly evil in here. And, you know, Dan Quinn's a good guy on some level, ultimately, right? Like, so, you know, it's...
Oh yeah, he's definitely going to be undisputed, you know, morality-wise portrayed as a good guy in this when he makes his appearance.
So before I go, can we pick one more, like, line that's interesting, Dan, for you to talk about? What I feel like I'd like to go out on that. Like, so Greg, if there's anything that's sort of
What, do you want Mass City then, or do you want Eastern Kingdom down? What's more interesting? I guess we looked around Eastern Kingdom a lot.
You guys choose, I guess. I think we'll get a good luck of the draw.
What do we think?
So, I guess there were. If you go up a bit, Greg, there was some little, I think, red blotches. Can you see there? Right, and then you've got Mass City, the Pizza Republic. If you go down, like sort of just.
Okay, so I wasn't in charge.
Yeah, that bit.
Oh. Pizza Republic. Well, there's not too much of a story there, really. That is just an example of. I'd have to probably get my memory jogged, but
I mean, Peachy's got to be
as you
another
can see,
Dank
like
Quinn
around
reference,
Peachy.
right? Like it's
Peachy Republic's actually off. I think it was either a blog or a website that Anoush started in fucking year 8 or something. He got obsessed with communism, like not literally, but just like learning about it. We were really, really fucking young, and it was just like I think it was also. I think he posted stuff about Maddox. Fucking people being obsessed with Maddox for some reason. Again, I didn't really have the fucking internet at that point, so I didn't know what people were fucking talking
Maddox?
about.
I really reckon. What was Maddox, Greg?
I
think
it was a guy who had a website early on in the internet, I think, and I don't know. All I can remember is he took himself a bit seriously. I can't really remember. It's a long time ago.
Right. I think, like all this stuff makes an effect. I was telling Greg the other day that apparently 4chan like sprang out of fucking something awful. And like 4chan, whether you like it or not, is unfortunately politically relevant. Like so much contemporary political discourse kind of comes from that. So, I guess SA would be like the 1905 Russian Revolution. Well, 4chan is the fucking 1917 one or something. So fucking pretentious a fucking analogy there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's more relevant than you'd expect for websites that's just about dumb blah 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 shit. Coming back to that map quickly, Peachy Republic are kind of completely subordinate to Corset. So over time, through concessions and through enforcement, they've been given and bestowed ground, and have had to relinquish ground and stuff. But I think they try to resist. Actually, at the top, on top of the mouth there, the top of the jaw, which actually I realized does look like a jackal. They, of course, are slowly encroaching over the time. Basically, Peachy Republic have tried to resist, but it's a very slow losing battle. And they're kind of taking advantage of on the south more to kind of have influence over Wals, which is the purple faction. But yeah, that's it. Oh no, so indulgent. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
I enjoyed that. I do need to go.
All right, we'll end it here. We've just been talking about the map for ages, so. Right, cool. Yeah,
it's a good map. Cheers for appreciating it. Yeah, it's fun to do.
All right, we'll catch you next time then. See ya.